right, my friends, welcome back. This is going to be part 109 of my presentation on the flood in Noah's Ark. And in this one here, we're going to continue on with this topic of the canopy theory, and which Dr. Carl Ball wrote about in this book here, Panorama of Creation. I will have some links in the description below also to his museum and to these two videos here, Creation and Symphony, the model, Creation and Symphony, the evidence. Both of these can be watched on YouTube for free, So check them out. I do have both of these on DVD. And so, but check this out. Check out Dr. Carl Ball and his museum. Fascinating fella, a real soldier for the faith. And so I like people that think outside the box. And so, because I like to think outside the box. And so, but at any rate, in this one here, we're going to look at some more aspects about the canopy, what it could have had, and some of the effects that it would have had on the life forms here on the planet. And I'm thinking maybe 2 more videos and we should be finished with the canopy theory. And so, but guys, it's something you're going to hear about. And so, you know, and again, you know, did it have it? We don't know. We don't know for sure. This is just something that's theorized, okay? The Bible seems to be silent about that, though I've showed you some verses that could hint in the direction of there possibly being some type of crystalline canopy above it. And so I don't know. I'm not sure. But again, this is the evidence that I've been able to find out. So, you know, for what it's worth, let's look at some more really interesting aspects about it. It could have had a pink tint. It could have had a pink tint. Now, we've already went through the first 5 there on the previous video. And so just make sure you check that out if you haven't seen it. But this next one here had a pink tint. It has been theorized that the canopy would have had a pink tint around it. Not a real strong one, but like a pink hue, a magenta at night. At night, it would have had like a soft kind of a hue to it. And well, the effects of pink light. What's the big deal with pink light? Scientists and researchers are finding that the most important color in the spectrum is pink. Pink, P-I-N-K. This is the color that is produced by energized hydrogen. Energized hydrogen. And we've talked about hydrogen on the previous video. And so make sure you check that out if you haven't, if you're wondering, like, what's the big deal with hydrogen? They find that plants grow better under pink light and that individuals respond more positively in mood to pink. Now, researchers have found that when a person is affected by the right spectrum of pink light, the brain secretes norepinephrine. That's a tongue twister. Norepinephrine is a natural tranquilizer and neurotransmitter. Biologists have found that the greatest plant growth is encouraged under pink light. Further investigation has revealed that it is pink light which optimally triggers the growth of cells within plants. Now, some of you guys that are keen on the scriptures ought to be saying, but the Bible said that the earth was filled with violence. The earth was filled with violence. What's the deal there? If there was pink light and it's supposed to have that effect on people, I don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying that this is what evidently the research has shown. And but I don't know, guys. Maybe that is just how. Remember, the Lord said, "I said I'm destroying the world and everything." So it was bad, guys. Maybe what they had was so bad that the Lord said there is just no recovery from this, and so He destroyed it all. So maybe it went above and beyond whatever pink light could do for them. Now, I will say this: there was a sheriff many years ago that painted his jail cell walls pink, and the inmates wear pink. And I believe it was because of the effects of pink on human aggression is the reason why he did that. And so, if my mind serves me correctly, and so this sheriff was really something else, and so very controversial. I'll say that, but I liked his ideas he had, thinking outside that box. Now, going on, the canopy would have caused double air pressure or more oxygen in the atmosphere on the planet. Now, the ratio of oxygen in the atmosphere would have been about 30%. Today, it is about 20%. And so the blood plasma would quickly be saturated with oxygen, making endurance greater without feeling fatigue. Get that? National Geographic reported that during long-term exposure to elevated atmospheric pressure and oxygen, an aquanaut who cut his hand healed overnight. It healed overnight, guys. Get that. Living under these conditions, more oxygen is what we're stating, human beings would receive adequate oxygen supply to the fetal brain, providing retention of all 200 billion brain cells that are genetically produced during fetal development. Normal humans would thus be provided with optimal functional abilities as well as the phenomenal gifts of a savant or a scholar. Now, there is a theory out there that the dinosaurs died because of a lack of oxygen. And so it is a new theory it's been around for some time, but it's another theory that's been proposed besides the astronaut, the traditional astronaut, the meteorite that has been proposed for some time now. The new theory: lack of oxygen, not asteroid, which killed the dinosaurs. Now, I tell you what, guys, I'm going to go ahead and read this just for the heck of it. And so this was from 1993, October 1993. But it says dinosaurs weren't done in by a giant asteroid, as one theory holds, but by a change in the atmosphere that meant there wasn't enough oxygen to support their inefficient respiratory systems. A new theory suggests a new analyst of air-trapped in 120 million year old amber found in east central Minnesota cast doubt on the notion that the dinosaurs starved to death after a giant asteroid hit the planet 65 million years ago, sending up dust that blocked the sun and killed plant life. Now, even with this trapped air in the amber, they're given evolutionary dates to it, 120 million years ago. But anyway, going on, it says dinosaurs were already on their way out by the time the meteor purportedly hit, says Gary Landis, a U.S. Geological Survey geologist and one of 4 scientists presenting their theory at the Geological Society of America's annual meeting today. The dinosaurs did not keel over with their feet up in the air, but they found it increasingly difficult to compete in their environment. The theory also carries implications for humans because it presumes that the worldwide atmospheric changes can occur 10 to 20 times faster than previously thought, the researchers said. Landis and his colleagues tested air found trapped in the amber in east central Minnesota. They found that the proportion of oxygen in the atmosphere fell from a high of 35% to a low of 28% within the relatively short time between 30,000 and 50,000 years. It would be like taking a dinosaur for a stroll from sea level to up to 6,000 to 7,000 feet, Landis said. The oxygen-rich air resulted from volcanic activity that pumped out carbon dioxide, which was converted into oxygen by plants. Dinosaurs evolved, there's your evolution there, during this time when oxygen was plentiful and had a weak respiratory system. According to the theory known as the Pele hypothesis, Pele is a Polynesian goddess of volcanoes. And 80-foot-long Apatosaurus, also known as the Brontosaurus, had a set of nostrils about the same size as a horse. And we're going to look at that in just a minute. For example, said Richard A. Hangest, a Purdue University physiologist, there were some serious problems with trying to get air into that animal, he said. Dinosaurs could not have existed without having more oxygen in the air to start with. Now that's key. You need to remember that. The scientists said that smaller cold-blooded animals around the time, such as snakes, lizards, and turtles, were able to survive because of their relatively modest oxygen needs. So did some of the smaller mammals with more efficient respiratory systems, the scientists said. About 2/3 of known species of dinosaurs were gone by the time the asteroid is believed to have fallen in what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, researchers believe. Now, I go through that meteor at the near the beginning of the, or somewhat into the beginning stages of the Dinosaur and Man presentation, if you guys want to check that out. But going on lastly, it says they were basically all gone, fully extinct by then, Landis said. It was a gradual extinction. And so that's what they're saying. Now, as far as the average horse here, when they're talking about the Apatosaur had the same nostrils as a average horse is 5 to 6 feet at the shoulders. They weigh 2,200 pounds. And so you got the man there for scale. And the Apatosaurus is 82 feet long, about 34 feet tall, about 30 to 42 tons, or 30 to 42 horses. And so now think about that. That's what a horse looks like to an Apatosaurus. Now, that Apatosaur had the same size nostrils as that horse did. So that's the reason they're saying that there was something different, guys, in our atmosphere. Something way different in our atmosphere. And how they believed that there had to have been more oxygen in atmosphere than we have today. Because there's no way that you're going to get enough oxygen to feed that animal. And just like this Richard Hanks said, a Purdue University physiologist, there were some serious problems trying to get air into that animal. And I do agree. And you know, guys, he is not the only one that thinks that. Mary Schweitzer, the one that discovered the soft tissue in the T-Rex dinosaur bone and other bones. They found soft tissue in all types of dinosaur bones. She says, as far as we know, the way the lung tissue functioned was designed for an atmosphere that's very different than today's. Now, guys, this is an evolutionist that's stating this. In the Jurassic world, there were great sauropods, but no flowering plants. What were those animals eating to make them so large? And how did Cretaceous hadrosaurs maintain large herds in what appear to have been semi-arid environments? Now, this is evolutionists talking about here. This is a University of California graduate student, Karen Chen that made this statement here. And putting on ancient airs. This is another one here. Dinosaurs, it seems, may have breathed easier than we do. Indeed, at a meeting of the Geological Society of America in Phoenix last week, 2 scientists stunned colleagues by reporting that 80 million years ago, the Earth's atmosphere contained about 50% more oxygen than it does now. Geochemist Gary Landis, this is evidently, they're reporting a different side of what this other article I just read to you stated, of the U.S. Geological Survey, and Robert Berner of Yale reached their startling conclusion after analyzing tiny air bubbles trapped in bits of amber. The aged and solidified resin of coniferous trees, they placed the amber inside a vacuum chamber, then cracked it to let the ancient air escape. They found that it was 32% oxygen compared to 21% in the modern atmosphere. If the findings are accurate, ideas about the atmospheric evolution might have to be revised. The two admit the results are still very preliminary, but they insist the method is sound. Berner quickly dismisses speculation that a change in the oxygen supply had anything to do with the extinction of the dinosaurs. It was a very slow change over millions of years. Now that don't surprise me that he would state that. He observes, and most organisms easily adapt. Next becomes testing bubbles in 30 million year old amber. And of course, guys, this was a very old article back in November 9th, 1987. And so if any of you guys have ever heard of hyperbaric chambers, it is a fascinating study, guys. I mean, fascinating study. And they have what's called hyperbaric therapy. Hyperbaric therapy, the human body does extremely well with hyperbaric therapy. And so here's some articles here. Guys, just Google hyperbaric therapy, and you will see a lot of hospitals have these chambers here that you can go into and get treatments. And the body will heal up really fast when it comes to this. And you can actually buy some of these. You can buy hyperbaric chambers for your house. You can. And so they're limited, I think, on how much oxygen can be pumped into you. But there's been people that swear by these things, guys. And so, but it's absolutely amazing what happens to the body. And again, could this be what the pre-flood world was like? Could that canopy, which would have given more air pressure on our planet, extra oxygen on our planet, could this be why people live for so long? Could this been at least one of the things that caused people to live for so long? And so, well, I will say this, by what they're stating here in these hyperbaric chambers, the body definitely benefits from this type of treatments. And so now, Dr. Carl Ball has a hyperbaric biosphere in his museum. And if you go to his website, you can get more into it and find out more about it. Just briefly, guys, I'll read this. It says, the Creation Evidence Museum is in the process of bringing online the first hyperbaric biosphere. Supposedly, they're going to make it to where you can watch it at any time you want to by cameras that's going to be on the inside of it. And I'm not sure, you might want to check out I haven't checked out his website in some time to see if they're online now with this thing. But this has been a project that's been going on for some time. And so, but it says, biosphere simulating the atmospheric conditions that existed before the worldwide flood of Noah's day. A smaller prototype version was brought online for a decade with very gratifying results. This pre-flood biosphere will not be used for human research. However, it will provide multiple programs for research experiments with plants, animals, birds, reptiles, fish, insects, etc. Our director holds multiple patents on the biosphere, and the Creation Evidence Museum is in the primary facility assigned for this exciting research. A number of internet domains have already been secured in order to give a worldwide audience the opportunity of watching the experiments in progress. When the project is complete, various cameras will monitor the ongoing process on a 24-hour schedule. And this cutting-edge research can then be allowed on the web with your computer, smartphone, iPad, and high-tech television sets from the office, classroom, living room, or remote areas of the world. This promises to provide a global testimony to the truth of creation. And so now the effects on plants, and this is where I'm going to end here. It says the research physicist Sherwood Idso has found that plants, when enriched with more CO2, grow bigger and better. And much like the plants of the past geological epochs of the biological prominence, moreover, for a tripling of the amount of CO2 in the air, it nearly triples. And so they have found plants, fossilized plants that are enormous, that are enormous. And we're going to stop right there. I think it's a good spot. I was hoping to get a little bit further, but as you can see, there's just so much cool information in this. And so, guys, I tell you what, God is just so good. Even though Adam and Eve sinned and they had to leave the garden, he still had a phenomenal world still for them. And man, being man, still screwed it up. Still screwed it up. And now we have what we have today. And even at that, we still have a very beautiful world with lots of things we can discover if we would only give him the glory. And that's what's going to keep secular scientists from discovering much of anything. But for those of us that give God the glory for what he's done, we can see the discoveries out there, even though most people out there in the secular world will not acknowledge it and won't accept it. And so we know, and the Lord will bless us for it. But you guys take care. I love you and hope the Lord blesses you real good. Bye-bye.